Terry's three. Johnny Walker matching up against control. His shot. Bruce score. They score. They tie the game up 2-2. Recent drives out for Robbie Ryan. Her three right on the money. This is Taya Hansen for three. Other side of the rim with a pretty reverse. Wow. 5 seconds to go. By Hawk. Hawk spins. It rolls off. And Arizona State wins it. Edward pulls off. And buries the puck. Daniels takes the shot for Kirby.
Welcome into Pitchfork Lunch. Yes, I am Michael Caratunino at Diablo00 on Twitter is where you can find me. And yes, little shout out. Look at right here. Shout out old school to Jake Plummer. That's right. That was the diving touchdown in the Rose Bowl where they had the lead against that team from Ohio State, which so glad they somehow didn't weasel their way into the college football playoff. But, hey, throwing Florida State out. I'm surprised they didn't throw, Washington out. And, even though they were an undefeated conference champ, figuring that Ohio State's only loss was to a conference champ because they get every break. But, hey, they only, Florida State's the only school that got put in the dark there. So nonetheless, but anyway, it is Wednesday, or it is Thursday. Yesterday was Wednesday. But yes, like I said, at Michael Caratunino, at Diablo00 on X, the artist formerly known as, yes, Twitter. You know this, Pitchfork Lunchers. And you can see the show there on X, on Facebook, and you know it. Yes, the YouTube channel. Go to the YouTube channel. Subscribe. The shows are all there. You can binge watch over the holidays. Haven't fully locked down a holiday schedule yet, but we like I said, are definitely but yeah, you go to the YouTube channel. If you've missed any interviews, guess what? They're all there, and there's a ton there. We are in episode now 66, Monday through Fridays, 12 to 1 here. You can, again, get your serving of Pitchfork Lunch going around the world of ASU athletics. And that is, and if you miss it live, though, again, you go to the YouTube channel, you subscribe, you can share the shows, like the shows, and like I said, binge watch and catch up, over your holiday break. But yes, you can go to the YouTube channel, which is M as in Michael, V as in Victory, C as in Cat 005 at MVC005. Subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. View the shows. Let's get it going. You've missed out on quite a bit, and some awesome interviews, to say the least. But I got you covered. You can go there and check them out. So that being said, but subscribe at MVC005 on YouTube. Subscribe. It is game day. Volleyball. Yes, the Sweet 16 is here as the ladies get set to take on Stanford in the rubber match, as they say. And it's, oh man, I mean, it's exciting. It's exhilarating. It's a bummer in a way too, because yes, they're conference mates. It's a Sweet 16. Yeah, they could have met up in the Elite Eight or, Final Four. Had they been switched. But like I said, Oregon was the only Pac-12 school that was on a side of a bracket that they wouldn't see a Pac-12 school in the Elite Eight. Now, Washington State's taking on Pittsburgh, in which conference rival USC just lost to in 4, but could have had Washington State USC in a Washington State, sorry, not the Final Four. Washington State and USC would have been in the Elite Eight as well, and then obviously, or in the Sweet 16, and then ASU, Stanford, but Oregon as well. So 4 teams battling, and one of them is definitely getting sent home by the other. So, but yeah, ASU, like I said, taking on Stanford. And look, I mean, I have talked a ton about what this team has been able to do and anything that may have been looked at as a weakness is a strength. I mean, you're going to earn your points against this team as the team that they're playing in Stanford. You're going to definitely earn those points, and it's going to be tough. It's going to be an insane matchup. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be, man, just an absolutely insane matchup. And yes, the two teams know each other, and that's why I asked Jelly Sear. If you missed that interview, you know where to go subscribe on YouTube. What was I going to say? But yeah, I mean, it's when you know teams like that, and that's why that's why when I asked Jelly Sear, I go, yes, you've played each other twice. You're in the same conference, but knowing each other, advantage, disadvantage for both, and basically saying, they you can't overthink it. You got to go out there and make the plays. And um um I mean, when you look at Stanford, I mean, from a depth standpoint, the 2023 player of the year, Kendall Kipp, from where? Stanford. The 2023 setter of the year, Cami Minor, from where? Stanford. The 2023 libero of the year, Elena Oglive, from where? Stanford. The Pac-12 freshman of the year was Maggie Lee, and the 2023 coach of the year, JJ Van Neal. But when you look at the Pac-12 all women's volleyball team, Stanford has quite a few. There's 6. So that's 1/3. Yeah, that's 1/3 of the volleyball team, the all Pac-12 women's team. Caitlin Baird, Sammy Francis. Baird's an outside hitter. Francis a middle blocker. Kendall Kipp, who plays opposite. Elena Oglive, the libero. Elia Rubin, an outside hitter. Oh, and Cami Minor, the setter. Yeah. So 6 of the 18. Yeah, 6 of the 18. So obviously, like I said, 1/3 of the team. And ASU, Marta Levinska was on the first team, but honorable mentions, Jelly Sear was an honorable mention for ASU, as was Claire Jeter, as was Shannon Shields, and Mary Schroll. So, I mean, not bad. Obviously recognized, but yeah, when you see the the list of the, like I said, Stanford took all 3, except, well, they took 3 of the 4. The freshman of the year, though, like I said, was Maggie Lee from Cal. But Coach Van Neal, coach of the year. Which kind of begs the questions, right? I mean, it is postseason awards. Yes, you can't vote. You don't vote on your team. Coach-wise, you don't vote for yourself. But yes, the vote comes from other coaches, and you see where they're at. But yeah, I mean, Stanford, again, only dropping 1 match in conference play to ASU. That's absolutely huge, as we all know. So, but yeah, I mean, that's going to be that's going to be a fun matchup to say the least. But again, number 5 taking on number 1 in that bracket, and it's very, very exciting, as the winner will play Saturday, and they will play the winner of the Texas and Tennessee matchup on that side of the bracket. So, it's going to be very, very, very interesting. and a lot of fun. I mean, look, and it's at 9:30 local time tonight, ESPNU. People say, why so late? But it's 8:30 in California. Um, so yes, it is on ESPNU. You can check it out there. And we'll get into more of it. Again, I mentioned obviously those players from Stanford, but again, get into stats, matchups, and again, just to kind of remind you of what the stats look like the first two times these teams played. Because the first time in Palo Alto, it was a 3-0 sweep for Stanford. In Tempe, Mullet Arena, a 3-0 sweep for, you know it, Forks Up. Forks Up. It was for the Devils. But nonetheless, yeah, so we'll get into that a little bit later too. Last night at the men's game, a lot of you saw on X, it's giving updates, but the men hold on for a 76-74 victory. It was 76-71, and there was 3 seconds left. And outside of people that are, shout out to the best segments on TV. I have no problem, obviously, giving a credit here, but and it's been that way, and it's on Sports Center for quite a while. But Scott Van Pelt, him and Stanford Steve with the bad beats, and just watching those, like, it's hard not to laugh, but you realize that when you're laughing at people that are like in staunch misery because of the way, like in extreme misery because of how it happened. Like somebody chucks a half court three that means nothing, but it goes in and it means a lot of something. Or, in football, oh, it's you got the under and there's 4.5 minutes left and they're 17 points away or 21 points away from it. And there's like, 4 touchdowns scored in 4.5 minutes when they haven't done that the whole game. Like, I love bad beats because I'm not partaking in them, but I do appreciate, I will say this, how Van Pelt and Stanford Steve or Van Pelt says, send me your ticket if you had that. And, I mean, not all of them, but there's here and there, which I find it, especially the most like obscure. And that's the whole point. To me, the whole point of the segment is hilarious because they do find some obscure games that, and yeah, fans of those teams in that area like might bet on it, but someone else that wasn't around there did. But yeah, with bad beats. So that 3 that went in, and I should have looked up the over and under before the game, or when the game ended, but nonetheless, it was a good game, for ASU. They struggled from the field. They definitely struggled from the field. I mean, they shot 30% from the 3-point line. Yeah, they were 30%. They shot 30% from the 3-point line. Overall field goals, they shot 36.5. But free throws, Devils fans, they were up to 74.4%. And that has been I mean, they're still undefeated at home. They improved to 6-2 on the season. Yeah, they improved to 6-2 on the season, and they are now, I want to say, 6-0 at home. Did I get that right? Yeah, but they're 6-2 on the season. But yeah, 74.4% from the free throw line. Yeah, 6-2 on the season. 5-0 at home. And they're 1-2 on a neutral site. Yes, and that was in Vegas. So, the one win in Chicago in the Barstool against Mississippi State. Again, first game of the year, lost 71-56. Turn around and beat Texas Southern 63-52. Held on to beat UMass Lowell. And that was a game, too, where it looked at they won 71-69, did ASU. but they shot 57.1% from they were 12 for 20. I mean, getting in line 21 times, very good. And last night, if 21 times, well, 21 times is good, right? Not bad. Pretty solid. You'd go with that, right? Last night, they got to the line 43 times, thanks to Mr. Jose Perez, who got there, who had 15 free throws, and he made 12 of them. So he shot 80% from the line. In the team shot 74.4. Also, Alonzo Gaffney was perfect from the line. Struggled from the field, 2 for 8 overall, 1 for 5 from 3. But 6 for 6 from the free throw line for Gaffney. Celebonge, getting better, 4 for 8. I mean, 50%. But Frankie Collins, 75%, 3 for 4. Jemiah Neal had 2 attempts. He was 1 for 2, like I said. Jose Perez, 12 for 15. And then Kamari Lands, 4 for 6. But 32 for 43 from the line. Yeah, so 32 of 43, 74.4%. Like I said, you want to be at least at 80%. I mean, being at 80% at home, the home court feel, and the guys talked about that a little bit after the game. I mean, not free throws, but just, the crowd and getting into it, because ASU started the game, if you saw, and we'll get into more details later, but they got off on a pretty good run. And then in the first half, and then SMU charged back and took a halftime lead. They were up 40-36. And then they extended their lead. Coach Hurley took a timeout, and then actually took 2 timeouts kind of close to each other. And yeah, they were down by 11, 13, and they just the guys were saying, just, keep chipping away at the lead. And they put the full court press on. Wow. We'll get, like I said, I'll get into that a little bit later too. But just we're going to be talking about on the show today. But man, and should be able to hear from the guys. But yeah, I mean, that full court press. I mean, put it this way: ASU had 22 fast break points, 22-7 in favor. Second chance, it was an advantage for SMU, 12-3. Points off turnovers, though, ASU had 14 and SMU had 8. But where they really got them, and Coach Hurley did mention this after the game too, the points in the paint, 42-22. And, it's Celebonge and Bryant Celebonge and Alonzo Gaffney. Coach talked about that, guys banging around with Sean Phillips still out, Zane Meeks as well. Zane Meeks as well, still coming back from his, although he was on the bench yesterday. So, I mean, that's kind of good to see. He was out there doing early warmups. So, but again, it doesn't mean that he's, ready to be in a game, as we all understand. So, but yeah, I mean, and even getting, Akeel Watson had some good minutes. I will say, Braylon Green, very solid. She was 1 for 3 from the field, but 1 for 1 from behind the arc. And he hit both his free throws. He was 2 for 2. But defensively, this freshman, man, I mean, coaches talked about it last presser. This presser even talked about it as well, as did Jose Perez and Frankie Collins. But yeah, I mean, nice to see that that defensive contribution from Braylon Green, just getting more comfortable, the freshman, every time. The more and more he gets out there, you can see his comfort. I mean, confidence, yeah. But, I mean, definitely comfort and, playing defense and making plays for others, moving the ball, not trying to force, his shot. But, yeah, it's a it was again, solid team performance. They stepped up defensively when they need to, and then getting to the free throw line. Like I said, Jose Perez just leading the way in that. but then some outside shots starting to fall. They fell early in the first half as ASU got out to a comfortable lead. But like I said, when SMU charged back, and SMU charged back to take the halftime lead, but they got the victory. Another cool part about this game is that Rob Evans, former coach of ASU, Coach Evans, was back in the building last night, which was so awesome to see. He's coached at SMU, and now he's in even more of a consulting role with the basketball team. But he traveled with them, and it was awesome because I don't know if I don't think I've told this on here, but when I was at ASU and Coach Evans was coaching there, one of my first stories that I had to do was go out to men's basketball and get an interview with Coach Evans, which was awesome. But it was kind of funny because unfortunately, my photog had bailed, and being a student, it happens, and something came. I won't say like completely bailed, but something came up, and that was kind of a bummer. So I had to shoot it myself, and it was a sit down. But it was funny because the color analyst on radio for ASU is Kyle Dodd, who is one of his players, and Kyle was walking off the court. And I'm like, hey, can you please do me a favor? So I had the chair set up. It looked good in the shot, but I had him sit on one side. And then I had him sit on the other side. So he helped me. He was helping me making sure my shot for, my interview, but this, project was framed correctly. So, but I got to say hello to Coach Evans. And it was good. It's great seeing him, man. And I got to talk to him and then, when I went to hoops games after that, it was always, granted, I was going to hoops games anyway, but it was always, catching up with him after the game and stuff like that was awesome. So big fan, obviously, of Coach Evans and all he did here. And now, like I said, he's at SMU, but it was so cool to see him in the building last night. And I am very, very stoked for that. I was very stoked for that. I walked around like that's, and then they showed him up on the Jumbotron, and I saw him obviously talking to Tim Healy at a halftime on the radio broadcast. So that was pretty cool. But just get to say hello to him after talk to him after the game. But so they get the victory 76-74 over SMU does ASU. And like I said, they improve to 6-2 overall, still unblemished at home, have won 4 in a row. And now, like I said, they will hit the road Saturday. They will be at USD, which is at 8:30 local time here, but 7:30 in San Diego, as Ron Burgundy would say. I'm not going to say all that he said about it because, I could, but let's not get in trouble. But Saturday they will be at USD. And that is, it'll be on the CBS Sports Network and Radio 98.7, like I said, and Sirius XM 384, but talk more about that. So I'm going to step aside. When we get back, though, we are going to dive into the challenges that ASU, the women's volleyball team, faces in the Sweet 16 tonight as they get set to take on Stanford. Very stoked. It is a winnable game, but yes, it is going to take some big effort, because I agree with Jeff Metcalf from the other day. There's no way this is just going 3. So I will step aside. More coming up here on Pitchfork Lunch. All right, back here on Pitchfork Lunch. Yes, I am Michael Carrasino at Diablo00 on X, the artist formerly known as Twitter. See the show there live on Facebook and the YouTube. Subscribe at M as in Michael, V as in Victory, C as in Cat 005 on YouTube. Subscribe. The interviews are there. The shows are there. Yeah, all the good stuff is there. So, all right, Sweet 16 tonight against Stanford. And again, in the Stanford quarter. And regional semifinals today. And looking at the bracket again in the Stanford quarter. Live right now, by the way, Louisville and Creighton are in the 5th set, just so you know. That's on the other side. And let's see, and Nebraska's up 1-0 over Georgia Tech right now. And then Pitt and Washington just about to get underway. Number one, Pittsburgh. Sorry, Cougs fans. Pitt and Washington State. Washington not there. So they're about to get going. And then at 5 o'clock, Wisconsin and Penn State will number 1 Wisconsin will take on number 5 Penn State. And then at 7 o'clock, we have Texas taking on Tennessee. And then at 7:30, Purdue's taking on Oregon. And then at 9:30, like I said, the nightcap. That's right, baby, the nightcap. ASU and Stanford at 9:30. So yes, that is what's up. But yeah, like I said, right now, Louisville just won. They beat Creighton in 5. So they are headed to the Elite 8, waiting for the winner of number 1 Pitt and number 4 Washington State. Said I mention Arkansas and Kentucky are at 2:30 as well. So anyway, that is where that is at. But for ASU, like I said, and Stanford, it is the nightcap, and very excited for that. But yeah, I mean, look, this season, like you said, they each won one match. Both teams defended their home court. Both teams swept the other 3-0. And in the second match, I mean, it just from what Coach Van Niel said, but they got off to a much cleaner start, a much better start, and they were able to able to just, build off confidence and, do what they do and run a fast offense, play defense, get digs. But that was the second match. The first match up where Stanford won it 3-0. It was 25-19, 25-18 in the third. Stanford just put the gas pedal all the way down, and they won. They blew them out, winning 25-12. I mean, yeah, pretty much in every category. And this was the one match that, even in losses, it was a very humbling, tough loss because Stanford had more kills, 49-27. They got out-aced, did ASU 6-1. Blocks 8-5, assists 48-27, digs 51-41. I mean, Stanford was just exerting their force. Mary Stroll had the only ace in that match, but Jelly Sear led in kills. I mean, they really focused on Marta Levinska. I mean, Sear had 9, Levinska had 7, Maddie McLaughlin had 3. Blocks, Shannon Shields had 2, Claire Jeter had 2, McLaughlin had 1. Shannon Shields had 19 assists. Mary Stroll had 2. Claire Jeter also had 2. And then Diggs, Stroll had 11. Shania Cromartie had 7, and Jelly Sear had 7 as well. But yeah, I mean, I talked about Kendall Kipp. Obviously, Kimmy Minor set up a Kendall Kipp, 15 kills, 2 aces, 3 blocks, 1 assist, and 11 digs. So yeah, she can fill up the stat sheet, to overstate the obvious there. And it was 3-0. And then when you look at, I said hitting percentage wise, ASU hit 125 that match. And I mean, they hit negative in the third set. They had a negative .063 in the third set. They were 133 in the first, which, not good. 333 in the second, which you'll definitely take. But then negative 63, they hit 125 for the match. Stanford hit 339. And look, I mean, it was domination. It was in Maples Pavilion, and it was complete domination. It was one of those things where it was again one of those things where when you look at what Stanford did, I mean, it was complete. Like I said, it was complete domination. But I mean, Sammy Francis hit 545. Kendall Kipp hit 393. Elia Rubin hit 400. And Jordan Harvey for Stanford hit 300 or 333, pardon me. So, I mean, for, Shannon Shields had 3 kills. She had 500, but Marta Levinska that match hit 172. Roberta Habello, easily her most struggled match of the year, hit a negative .048. So, like, it's, I mean, yeah. Jelly Sear hit .80. So, yeah, it's it was a tough match, but what did they do? They got better from it. Because after that 3-0 loss, they beat Cal in 5, they beat USC in 5, they swept UCLA in 3, and then they went up to Oregon. They lost to Oregon State in 5, turn around though, beat number 5 Oregon in 3, beat Utah in 3, did lose in 3 to Colorado, swept Cal in 3, swept Stanford in 3, swept UCLA in 3, and then lost in 3 on the road at USC, and then beat Colorado 3-1, swept Utah again 3-0, lost to Oregon in 4, beat Oregon State in 4, lost to Washington State, man, that tough one, in 5, and then swept Arizona in 3, and then beat Georgia in 3, beat number 4 BYU in 3. So again, and Stanford just went to 5 against Houston, but nonetheless, like, that's neither here nor there. But that was the first matchup. I mean, what ASU went on from there. In that second matchup, though, against Stanford, how different it was. Because ASU won 25-16, 25-21, and then gave Stanford a nice beating like they gave them in the third set, 25-14. Kills in favor of ASU, 41-34. Aces, 6-3, which in favor again. Blocks, Stanford had the slight edge, 7-6, but assists, 39-32 in favor of the Devils. And then digs, 50-47. Stanford hit 194, right, in that match, and ASU hit 311, when in the first match, ASU hit 125 and Stanford hit 339, like I said. So ASU team a bit below what Stanford did, and Stanford is a little bit higher, but still 194 for Stanford. I mean, Katie Barrett had 12 kills. Ellie Rubin had 8. Kendall Kipp had 6. Kip did have 2 aces. She also had 5 blocks. And but yeah, I mean, you look at Mary Schroll, 12 digs that match. Same with Marta Levinska. Shannon Shields had 8. Aces. Claire Jeter had 3. Jelly Sear had 2. Shields had the other one. Kills. Levinska up to 17. Roberta Habello, 9. Claire Jeter, 5. Blocks. Maddie McLaughlin and Claire Jeter both had 3. Levinska had 2. Levinska also had 2 assists and 12 digs. So she didn't have an ace that match, but still, again, another phenomenal match by Marta Levinska. But yeah, to get Stanford to just hit 194, and yeah, they obviously had quite a few errors. I mean, they had 14 errors in the 3 sets to ASU's 9. So you turn it around like that. But yeah, I mean, for Stanford, when you look at Stanford, but this is what, again, I've talked about what ASU's done on the season. So focusing on Stanford, 1,624 kills on the season to their opponents, 1,259, right? 441 errors. Their opponents have 561. Assists, 1,538 to their opponents, 1,173. Aces, less than ASU, 211 to this point, and their opponents only have 112. But ASU still has more aces than Stanford. Digs, 1,511 to their opponents, 1,334. Blocks, 302 to their opponents, 191. So, like, you get why this team was so good all year long. Individually, when you look at it, Kendall Kipp led the team with 442 kills. So, yeah, Marta Levinska's over 500, but Elia Rubin, 387 right behind her. And then Sammy Francis had 197. McKenna Vicini had 151. Oh, I'm sorry. So it goes Kendall Kipp at 442, Elia Rubin at 387. Then Katie Baird. I was like, where is Katie Baird? Katie Baird had 323. So she was third on the team. And then, like I said, we get Sammy Francis with 197 and then McKenna Vicini with 151. So 1,624 kills for this team. And you see offensively right there, I mean, assists on the year, obviously their setter, Cammie Miner, who was, all Pac-12, the Pac-12's on the all Pac-12 team being she was the setter of the year, but 1,318 assists, 11.77 per match. So, yeah, that's pretty good. Pretty good. And when you look at them defensively, though, I mean, they're just like ASU. They can spread out the digs. And Elena Oglive, their libero, had 470 on the season. And Elia Rubin had 283. And then Cammie Miner, again, their setter, just like Shannon Shields, who can get digs, she had 256 on the season. And Kendall Kipp had 215. And then Katie Baird had 174. So you're seeing these, 6 rotation players as, Miner, Baird, and Kipp performing. And obviously, if they weren't, they wouldn't be on the court. I know that. Easier said than done. But, I mean, look, this is a team, ASU, don't forget the first. Yes, remember the second, but Stanford is going to come. Uh, they're going to be a little flustered, obviously, that they lost to ASU last time. But if Jelly Sear keeps playing on the left side like she is, and Roberta Habello too can be that X factor. Jeff Metcalf and I were talking about that on Tuesday. So that is going to be huge. Yes, you need Marta Levinska to be Marta Levinska, Shannon Shields to spray the ball all over the court, and get that serve. And with obviously Claire Jeter and even Levinska, Shields, Schroll, and Jillian Neal as well. Her coming in as that serving specialist. So again, it's a team that look. Can they beat Stanford? Yes. Can Stanford beat them? We all know the answer to that as well is yes. But I will say this: if Stanford can be forced into more of those service errors, and they did one hell of a job, obviously, of getting him out of system in Tempe when they beat him at Mullet Arena. But yeah, just go out and play. And I mean, you heard the fire from Jelly Sear, like again, just a competitor in her. It's just always awesome to talk to her. But knowing what they have to do and knowing obviously there is, like you said, you respect your opponents, but you can't, like Coach Van Niel said, you can't fear. You're not going to go in fearing the jersey. You just can't. You can't go in fearing the jersey. Not going to happen. So that's what they have to do. And they know they can do it the way they've played. And 28-6 overall right now. I mean, it's 28-6 and a chance to move to 29-6. And you know what? They can do it. I have no problem with thinking that they can do it. And look, I mean, 10-5 on the road, 9-0 on neutral sites. 9-1 at home, 10-5 neutral sites, and then 9-0 or 10-5 away, 9-0 on neutral sites. So yeah, 28-6 overall. This team, they got it, man. Let's go, Sun Devil Nation. Get behind them. All right, we're going to take one last quick break. When I get back, I'm going to get into hoops. We will wrap up last night's men's action with the great victory over SMU, 76-74. More coming up here on Pitchfork Lunch. All right, back here on Pitchfork Lunch. Yes, I am Michael Carrottenuto at Diablo00 on X, the artist formerly known as Twitter. Also see it on Facebook and yes, the YouTube. Go to my YouTube channel and at MVC005. Remind you of that in a minute. But so 76-74 victory last night over SMU for ASU. And it's one of those things where they they wanted to obviously protect their home court. Yes, the shooting needs to improve. Coach just talked about, the struggling shooting from the field. And I mentioned at the top of the show that they did. I mean, they were 19 for 52 overall last night, which was 36.5%, not what you want to be from the field. 3-point land, they were 30%, but the free throw line, 74.4%. And Jose Perez was 80% from the line, 12 for 15. But yeah, I mean, Jose Perez, 80% from the line. Sorry. Alonzo Gaffney, 100% from the line, 6 for 6. Love that. Again, struggle from the field, but hit from the free throw line. Yes, they were up. They were down at half. They were up at first. SMU came back. They were up by 4 at half. And then ASU, about I want to say about the 12-minute mark, 10-minute mark, that's when they started with the full court press, got some turnovers. They were down by 13, and yeah, they were down by 13, and they were down by 13 and just chopped away. Then they got the lead and extended it a little bit, which was even better. And then yeah, which is was even better. And then they were able to create turnovers. Frankie Collins, again, getting to the rim. And he talked post-game, too, about – because I had asked him, I just said, obviously you want to see the ball go through the hoop. And you guys have talked about – coaches talked about the struggles with shooting. But is that, within it, just getting to the hoop, seeing the ball go through, obviously, creating fouls – and but just having that aggressiveness. And I mean, Jose Perez said many times that's his game. It's kind of cool because there is actually do have a cool shot of this is Jose Perez getting some of that warm up in last night. And but yeah, I mean, look, it's one of those things where he has, and he isn't Jose Perez. I mean, that's his game. Like he says, he goes, maybe it's a New York thing. He goes, I don't know. It's always been in my game. But I mean, to be physical, he doesn't have to settle for jump shots. And yeah, I mean, the ball, like I said, they had 5 guys in double figures against all 5 starters. I keep saying 5 guys. All 5 starters were in double figures against San Francisco, where they won. And last night it was 3 guys. So Perez had 20, Collins had 17, and Gaffney had 11. Jemiah Neal, again, a little bit of a quiet night, tough night shooting, but he had 6 points. But seeing the ball move is the solid part. We love that because coach talks about that. You need ball. And he talked about last night, like, he's like, yeah, the rebounding wise, they got out rebounded on 44-34. But you look at Jemiah Neal led the team with 8 rebounds. Frankie Collins, a guard back there, and again, I talked about this. Coach mentioned it. They are short in the front court. Until Sean Phillips comes back and you can move certain guys around. But, he said you're asking, Zoe and Alonso Gaffney and Celebonge to, and not that they can't, but just, tie some of the bigger guys up and, let the guards come in and help and get the rebounds. And for the last few games, it's been like that because Collins and Neal, 14 of the 34 rebounds between them. And like I said, Collins led with 8 or no. Neal led with 8. Collins had 6, but I mean, it is crucial to what they do. And the second chance points, I mean, there is and again, with some of the length and, even Gaffney and Celebonge trying to, get rebounds, they were just, if one guy maybe had position, but SMU did, like I said, second chance points, it was 12-3. And in the paint, it was 42-22. And that's not sustainable. That is not sustainable to keep winning. And coach knows that. But look, the effort they put in, this defensive effort. And I talked about Braylon Green, the freshman, and they've, coach has kind of been asked about him, just early in the season, but his growth, even just from, game to game. He goes, yeah, it's not, we need to get another guy substitution in there for him to take him out. But on the other side of that, if he's making it hard to take him out and he's doing what he needs to do, then, you can leave him in there and develop that depth. And that's only going to pay off, as we get into conference play, but later in the season. So just a solid win. Like I said, 74.4% from the free throw line, 32 to get there 43 times. And Jose Perez did say after the game, the most he's ever shot in a game, because he was asked if that was the most free throws he shot. He said, no, he had 21 free throws in a game before, but still, I mean, look, 12 of his 20 points came from the free throw line. He was 4 for 7 from the field, didn't attempt a 3-pointer. So again, a very efficient, solid night for Jose Perez. And like I said, 20 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. He did have 2 turnovers, but Frankie Collins, another 4 steals, leading. By the way, kind of buried the lead there with Frankie Collins, leading the nation in steals to this point. So that is phenomenal. Love to see that from Frankie Collins. And again, he can play D, and again, as a point guard, understanding what coach really wants. And, he says, yeah, someone's going to make a mistake. And Jose Perez made a nice joke last night. He's like, yeah, he's a point guard, so he wants to know how Coach Hurley would have played it. So he goes, it's tough to talk to Coach Hurley sometimes about that. But no, I mean, it's him running the offense. I mean, the comfort he has, and obviously the comfort he has with Neal and with Jemiah Neal and Alonso Gaffney, absolutely huge. But big 76-74 win last night. So going to wrap it on that. But hey, don't forget, 9:30 tonight, local time, ESPNU. Get that positive pitchfork lunch mojo to the Sun Devil women's volleyball team, Sweet 16 against Stanford, a chance to advance to the Elite 8 and play the winner of Texas and Tennessee. And let's see if we have any more finals. Well, Nebraska's up 2-0 over Georgia Tech. And Louisville, like I said, they already won in 5 over Creighton. And so far, nothing on Washington State, Pittsburgh, but that was supposed to start half an hour ago. So, yeah, so that's it. Nebraska looking to win it in 3 as they are in the third set. Number 5, Georgia Tech. Let's see. So it's 25-11 in the. Oh, it was 25-11 in the first, and then 25-16 in the second, and now it's 1-1 in the third. But yeah, nonetheless, that's Nebraska's number 1 for a reason. That's why. So, anywho, I'm going to get out of here. But 9:30 tonight, again, ESPNU. Check it out. Sun Devil Women's Volleyball in the Sweet 16, 50th anniversary year. It's magical. Let's keep that magic going. It's going to be tough, but it should be an awesome 5-setter. So we will have that. We'll talk about that tomorrow and see if we can get in on a post-game Zoom. But yeah. So anywho, that's that. I'm going to get out of here. Again, any questions, thoughts, hit me up at Diablo00 on X, the artist formerly known as Twitter. And you can see the show live there, Facebook. And yes, one last time, the YouTube channel. Subscribe. You can go to M as in Michael, V as in Victory, C as in Cat, 005 on YouTube. Subscribe. The shows are there. Interviews are there. We're going to have more of those. And maybe a little bonus on Saturday. Wait and see. But nonetheless, again, subscribe to the YouTube channel at MVC005. M as in Michael, V as in Victory, C as in Cat, 005 on YouTube. Subscribe. I am out of here. You guys all have a great rest of your Thursday. Let's bring the Lady Devils, like I said, some positive mojo. As they get set to take on Stanford. So again, gonna get out of here. As always, Sun Devil Nation, you know it. Forks up. Enjoy this, and this is some positive mojo for our Lady Devils taking on Stanford in the Sweet 16.
Pulls off and buries the